one. Art Ekman along with David Bailey. And it's our pleasure to bring to the United States Supercross fan for the very first time total coverage of the World Supercross Series. This is round one in Fukuoka, Japan. You see there the riders looking very relaxed in the foreign atmosphere, David.
Well, you kind of wander around really not knowing what to do with yourself. You don't know where to ride. You don't know where to eat. Everything is completely different. And one thing looks the same, though, however, this looks like they hauled all this dirt from Georgia, that red clay.
And the qualifying heats, semis, and last chance qualifier, the same as the United States. The only real difference here in round one, 18-lap main event instead of the usual 20.
That's going to make the start even more important. And these races have already become a sprint these days. Everyone is so fit now, and 2 laps shorter really makes a big difference.
Also, the riders, of course, opening this series in a large dome, which is kind of similar to the United States Supercross situation. But look at the starting gates. So a little bit better organized, it looks like.
Well, the Japanese are known for being very organized, and they're just making sure that everyone's lined up properly and they don't have a big congestion there waiting for the riders to stage.
Here in heat number one of the 250s, Jeff Emig, Larry Ward, Ryan Hughes, Phil Lawrence, Michael Craig, the American riders, of course, that are so well known also in Japan. The gate is dropped for our first heat. Emig gets the hole shot, and right next to him there is Ryan Hughes. So Phil Lawrence going down right at the very beginning.
Kind of a bad start for him. It looked like he just high started off the back of somebody else. And they have a lot of work to do to get into the top 4 and qualify to the main.
Tadakazu and Takaturu are the 2 Japanese riders we can keep an eye on, and currently in 5th place, number 50, is Takateru. But out in front, Jeff Emig with Ryan Hughes putting the pressure on. Number 6, Larry Ward. Number 15, Michael Craig of Honda of Troy.
You can see right there as Emig came out of the corner, headed up the face of the jump, a lot of dozer tracks, and right there it's all packed down, not any tracks from the guys riding. So a lot of work to the track since practice, and that's going to force Emig to kind of have to relearn things while Ryan Hughes can kind of key off where he goes.
And David, this track has different textures. We just went through a sandy portion. There's some slick portions and some sticky portions.
Well, it's tough. You can see right there as Emig comes down back into the start straight, he leaves a brand new fresh tire print. So it leads me to believe that the soil is really tacky and there's a lot of traction, but in some places you've seen him get a little sideways. So probably until they get a few laps in the books here and get that track worked in and a berm here and there, it's going to be a little tough to read. Here
in qualifying heat number 1, Emig is out in front. Hughes being tested now by Larry Ward, who passed number 15, Michael Craig. This looks like a fairly technical track from our vantage point, David. Are most of the foreign tracks similar?
Well, I think they've paid a lot of attention to the way the U.S. Supercross tracks are built and designed, and looks very familiar. There's a lot of technical stuff. The whoop section looks the same as what we've seen. Obviously, there's some passing availability. Larry Ward's already moved up a little bit, put some pressure on Hughes to see if he can get around him anyway.
Larry Ward looking to the outside on Hughes, puts the power to it, comes off the jump in second place, and Ward now moving up a notch. Can he catch Emig here in the heat?
There's still enough time. He's got the momentum, and to me, Emig looks a little tense. His lines are different lap to lap. It doesn't look like he's made up his mind whether he wants to go inside or outside, and already you can see Ward has closed the gap, so could see a real battle here in a moment.
Right now, all of these riders are riding their 96 bikes. They'll finish testing the 97 bikes a little bit later after round 5 in Tokyo. Kawasaki gets their new 97 bikes, and Honda of Troy expecting as Larry Ward now putting pressure on Emig. Shows him a tire going to the outside.
Look how quick Larry Ward went through that berm. He almost got his foot hung up in the wheel, though. He got a little sideways. It's one of the slicker spots, but he's got a lot of different lines. Look, he jumps that entire section of bumps. That was something Emig did a few laps ago, but he's really been inconsistent as far as where he goes on the racetrack.
There you see Michael Craig has now moved in front of Hughes into 3rd place. Both Ward and Craig expecting their 97 model Hondas in December. Emig, Ward, Craig, Takaturu's in 5th place. We'll be back.
5 plus $4.95 delivery to
Fukuoka, Japan. Out in front in heat number 1 qualifying. Jeff Emig, number 2. It is 2 Honda of Troy riders behind him, and then Ryan Hughes. Top 4 positions advancing to the main event.
Hughes, who was right behind Emig in the first couple of laps, really dropped off the pace, and I really think that the main reason for that's got to be an arm pump. I can't think of any other reason he would drop off the pace that far. And right now, looks like Emig has definitely opened up that gap on Larry Ward. He's close there for a while, but he's obviously found his lines and his rhythm and is starting to ride a lot better now.
Most of these riders, of course, haven't ridden for some time, at least to last season, as far as Jeff Emig is concerned, as he does some styling for the fans right now here in Fukuoka. Oh, haven't seen him do a knack-knack before.
Well, probably part of him wants to really do it and be the crowd favorite, and the other part of him's going, well, it's kind of Jeremy's move, but, well, he's not here, so I'll go ahead and throw one out there.
That's right. We might repeat, Jeremy McGrath is not participating in round one, the defending champion of the World Supercross Series of last year and 1994. Jeff Emig, though, coming off a great season.
Well, this is a great way to bridge the two seasons. If he can win this series, really give him a lot of momentum going into next year.
Jeff Emig, the checkered flag. With Larry Ward in second place, Michael Craig and Ryan Hughes advancing to the main event. Let's go down trackside now to the translator, Rick Hansen.
How was the whole course? You feel quite comfortable?
Yeah, I feel awesome. You know, what can I say? The Kawasaki's working great for me, and I'm really happy to race it here for the first time that I've raced the Kawasaki here. I'm very happy, and I feel that I have a great shot to win. And you know, the crowd, you guys are really grateful, and thank you for that.
Jeff Emig.
Great crowd on hand for this first round of the World Supercross Series as we move on to heat number 2. Some familiar names: Sebastian Tortelli out of France, Kevin Windham, the young phenom for Yamaha, Damon Bradshaw will be on a Honda, Frederic Vialli from France, James Dobb from England. Probably the leading Japanese contender here is Tanaka Takasi, and he is number 37. Gate drops. Windham, number 7, the good inside. He's got the whole shot.
Looks like Frenchman Frederic Vialli on the very inside. Bradshaw with a pretty good start. Looks like he's in third right now. Can't wait to see how Windham looks on this 250. I love watching this kid ride the big bike.
I can't wait to see Kevin Windham back on the AMA US Supercross trail, to be honest with you, because he looked so good in taking a second place in Charlotte when trying the 250s and the alternate races from his 125 division, of which he won the title. But I can hardly wait to see him in competition once again.
Well, these guys in this heat race aren't going to see him at all. If he keeps pulling away like he hasn't even been a half a lap yet, he's already gone.
Kevin Windham with no plans to continue in round 2 in Paris at this moment, though. A win here today, he might change his mind. $25,000 at stake for the winner of the main event here in Fukuoka.
Pretty nice timing so far.
Look at the lead he's got on the second place rider.
Yeah, he's going to have this heat, no problem. Looks like if he continues. Looks like Bradshaw is starting to go to work now on Vialli. A little different line through that section. He should come out on the inside. And, you know, Windham reminds me, Art, a lot of the way Damon Bradshaw looked in his early days. Just looks so relaxed about everything. And, very comfortable out there. He puts a lot of style into the, even when he's up in the air, he still moves a lot with the bike.
As we see the yellow flag, a lapper going down. Windham with a dominating lead. And right now, it is Damon Bradshaw on a Honda in second place. There are rumors that Bradshaw might be riding a Honda this coming season.
I think a few years ago, or 4 or 5 years ago, actually, when Bradshaw was in his prime, there were a lot of people that thought, boy, if he was on a Honda, he'd be unstoppable. Because at the time, Honda was doing so well. And here he finally is. It's just too bad. It kind of seems like it's the tail end of his career, but this might be what he needs to change his attitude.
Damon Bradshaw in second place. Still looking for a ride, though. Has not signed for the 97 season.
In contrast to that, Windham, he's pretty dialed in for the next couple of years, and definitely got to make Yamaha very excited to have somebody with that kind of talent, that young, still on their team. A lot of good things in the future, I have a feeling, for Kevin Windham.
So the safety crews finally getting the lapper off the track, and we're back to yellow flag at the side of the officials. Kevin Windham just blitzing away here in heat number 2 after Jeff Emig winning heat number 1.
You see how aggressive he is, too, as he comes to that mechanics area. He's leaned so far forward. He's got his chest right against the crossbar. That's aggressiveness. I'll tell you, when you're out there and you ride like that, your chest is on the crossbar, you know you're going somewhere in a hurry.
Right now in heat 2, it's easy to see that Wyndham is using the berms and some of the ruts that were created out of heat number 1.
Right. It wouldn't surprise me to see this heat race be a lot faster than Jeff Emig's, only because the track has worked itself in, and it does look like it's going to get rutted up. In the main event, I think with a lot more laps, some of the faces of these jumps are going to look like a cone before the end of the race is over with. And that's going to be difficult, choosing your best line to get over the triples with the lappers in the way. It's going to get tough.
And the texture of this soil, David, doesn't give you much roost. Kevin Wyndham, Bradshaw, the two Frenchmen, Viale Tortelli, and James Dobb.
Oh, this is great. All these scores and highlights are really going to help my career. Look at me now. Gardening. Thanks from the bottom of my heart. No, really, truly, thanks. I appreciate it. Idiots. Ridiculous. Morons. You guys want to kick my dog while you're here?
Welcome back to the Fukuoka Dome in southern Japan. We're in the middle of heat 2 of the qualifying rounds for the World Supercross first round. It's Kevin Wyndham just simply dominating the field here in heat 2.
Kevin has that ability to just make everything look so easy. It doesn't even look like he's trying very hard. And Bradshaw on a Honda, it looks a lot different. Kind of exciting. It's new for him. Look how far forward he gets. He lands off that jump. He approaches the face of that triple, and it puts him right back in the middle of the bike where he's supposed to be.
Shows the tremendous torque of that bike, just taking off like a rocket, the body adjusting to it. Wyndham in first place here in heat number 1. This track is so interesting. If we saw more combative racing, I think we'd have all kinds of opportunities to pass, David.
Well, I think so, too, because it's got some tight stuff. You can see right here that long sweeper around through the first turn. Usually the first corner is pretty tight. Then they go right into this section here, which is pretty much you can go slow in the beginning, quick in the end, or the opposite way. It's a little bit of a rhythm section there, where you can take your choice. And right there, Wyndham electing to just go for the double because the lappers were in his way. But I think there's plenty of places to pass. Larry Ward showed us that.
Wyndham playing it pretty cool behind Nakayama Turu, as this is the final lap, and he's on his way for qualifying into that main event.
A lot like Larry Ward in the first heat, Wyndham elected to go to the far right through that roof section.
It's interesting, David, getting used to new numbers for next year, and of course they have a different set of numbers for the World Supercross Tour.
Right, if you notice in the beginning of the race, look there on Wyndham's back. He had a number 7. It looked like maybe a number plate background that they stuck on there so they could score him, and he's going so dang fast, blew it right off.
Checkered flag, and an easy ride for Kevin Wyndham. Showboats it well and darn near ran into the lapper once again. Whoa, put on the brakes. Damon Bradshaw, an impressive second place, though.
It looked to me like he was trying pretty hard to catch Kevin, but it's going to take him a while to get used to that Honda.
The two Frenchmen making the main event as the top 4 transfer. Let's go down to Hiro Toyoshi now.
It was a very good jump, and also during the whoop, even very fast without any slowing down the speed.
Yeah, I felt really good. I was able to pull a pretty good lead, and I feel really good for the main. The track suited me really well, and I'm just happy to be here. I went to Osaka and Tokyo last year, and I'm having a lot of fun here in Fukuoka now.
Heat number 3 has some interesting side scenarios as Damon Huffman, Greg Albertine, Ezra Lusk, John Dowd, and Mike Kudrowski appear in the starting lineup. Number 100, Mike Kudrowski. As you saw Ezra Lusk, he's on a Yamaha for the first time. There's number 100. Is that unbelievable?
He'll get in there and rub elbows with you and do what it's going to take.
It's interesting to see John Dowd getting a good start. One thing he wanted to work on for the 97 season. Here comes Albie, though, on the Suzuki.
He's already closed the gap on John. It looks like he hit neutral right there, but he got it corrected quick enough to hang on to second. Kudrowski's right on him now. Looks like all the American riders showed up with no numbers on their jerseys, and everyone's been putting those stickers on the back, and the one that Albertine had on just flew off right in front of Kudrowski.
John Dowd leading heat number 3 after Emig and Wyndham, clear-cut winners in the first 2 heats. Almost looks like Texas Stadium with the sunlight coming in portions of the track right now. Ezra Lusk making a big move now on Albertine in the whoop section as John Dowd dominating out in front.
Pretty impressed with John Dowd. He's had some pressure. I mean, first of all, for him to get a start like that and to continue to lead like this in a heat race, that's a great start for him. If he can keep this going into next season, Yamaha will be real pleased with that. They've already got Wyndham. They expect him to do well, and they're just hoping John Dowd will fill in the blank.
Well, the way Lusk is putting pressure on Albertine, too, for second place, that's going to put a smile on the lips of the Yamaha crew members as well. As Lusk said, I felt comfortable from the very first day I put my body on that Yamaha. That's unusual. Some adjustments don't have to be made physically.
Well, it's usually, I didn't switch around much in my career. I just spent most of my time on Kawasaki and Honda, and there was quite an adjustment to get on the Honda. Everyone said how great the bike was. It took me a long time to adjust. And it's good news. I guess Yamaha's got everything dialed in, and it's working good for Lusk.
Down Albertine with Lusk closing in, and we'll be back with more World Supercross in a moment.
You're lucky. When you screw up, you're not stuck in a box. Flyers and Bruins, Tuesday, 7:30. ESPN2. Lucky you.
Welcome back to the Fukuoka Dome. Round number 1 of the World Supercross. We are in qualifying heat number 3. John Dowd is our current leader. While we are away, Ezra Lusk, number 11, and Damon Huffman move into second and third in front of Albertine. This is a good battle. Huffman coming back very strong from last year's injury. And Ezra Lusk saying, this particular series gives me a lot of time to learn about this new team, learn about the bike. His new mechanic is Steve Butler, and going down is John Dowd.
I don't believe it. He had a great opportunity to win this heat race. A close battle. He was a freight train behind him, and all he took was one mistake. Watch him right here. He just gets sideways. The back tire hits that berm or a hay bale. Couldn't tell which. Kicked back the other way, and it kind of messed up his teammate a little bit. Otherwise, I think Lusk would have inherited the lead. So Huffman, he was had a great start. He got tangled with another rider and came from nearly last place. So it's been a great ride for him.
Lusk putting the pressure now on Huffman. Oh, this is a good battle. Huffman on a 96 bike until the 97s after the Paris event. Here's Ezra Lusk taking the inside. He's riding aggressively.
Well, he took advantage of Huffman went to the inside back there, and he squared the corner and had the inside coming through the mechanics area. Now you can start to see him looking around. He wanted to make sure that Huffman wasn't coming down the inside. Albertine had been doing that, coming down the inside. He almost went to the inside of Huffman last lap.
1 lap to go. Huffman cutting in front of Lusk now, and Lusk comes back on the inside, using the lapper to his advantage.
Well, as for Huffman right there, what he needed to do was just put on the brakes a little bit and make that pass take longer, and Lusk wouldn't have had anywhere to go.
Ezra Lusk and Damon Huffman, it looks like it's 1 and 2 unless something happens to Lusk in this final lap.
It's still round 1. Probably good sportsmanlike conduct. He could have no reason to start a fight at round 1.
Huffman, oh, he had a chance there. Stephen Butler in the mechanics area, waving Ezra Lusk on. Good to see Ezra looking good on his new bike.
They got a nice line through that section right there just to make it a little easier to get to that checkered flag first.
So the lad from Bainbridge, Georgia, wins heat number 3 before we get to the semifinal round. Mike Kudrowski going directly to the main event along with Albertine. Let's go down to Hiro Toyoshi.
Today's running, how was it?
Yeah, I feel really good out there. My Yamaha motorcycle, my Dunlop tires are working out great out there. I can't ask for anything else better right now. I'm feeling real good, and just have to loosen up a little bit and get a little crazy out there on those jumps and get all this crowd behind us.
Getting set now for semifinal number 1. Only one American in the first semifinal round, and that'll be John Dowd, who was leading in his heat race but spun out. Dowd, along with a host of Japanese riders, getting set now here in the semifinal round. A couple of names that we mentioned earlier who were looking good: Takateru and Tadakasu. As the gate drops, it's Yushuki taking what looks like the hole shot, number 20. He drifts wide now, and Tadakasu is in the lead, number 36.
Well, once the Yashuki got the hole shot, it looked like he drifted wide. He took John Dowd with him. Dowd had a pretty good start, but now he's about 3/4 of the way back to the pack. A lot of work to do.
I would think what's really difficult, David, in a race like this, when you don't know your opponents, you don't know how fast they'll go through a corner or how they're going to brake, you can really get messed up.
Well, look where Dowd is. I think that he's got to get through this and try to qualify. He's buried behind all these guys, and he doesn't know if they're going to jump the triple. I remember coming over to Japan and racing And we didn't have as many triples back then, but just the big double jumps. You follow a guy, and it looked like he was going to do it in the last minute. He jams the brakes on. So it's going to be tough to read these guys, and be lucky to try to get through here unscathed.
Number 36, Atsuka Tadagatsu, is out in front and has a dominating lead. I don't know if John Dowd has time in the semifinal round to catch him, but he's at least now in the open and doesn't have some slow riders in front of him to try and catch up and get into the competitive style. The top 4 riders advance out of the semifinal round here in Fukuoka to the main event.
Handling the triple, no problem. As he came around the finish line, he looked over his shoulder to see that John Dowd was definitely gaining. You can see Dowd already into second place, so he must have made some great move somewhere to get past that pack of riders.
John Dowd, number 14, in the whoops, completely dominates, moving easily into the lead.
This is Dowd's strong point. He's so physically strong. He can muscle his way through, and a lot of the American riders starting to favor that right side through the whoop. So you got to get out of the corner and square it off in order to hit that line. Then you get a little faster momentum in the corner afterwards. So that seems to be paying off right now.
Atsuda Takatura is also making a move now into 3rd place as John Dowd riding pretty easy here in our first semifinal round. We'll be back with more from the World Supercross in a moment.
Edmonton takes on Toronto for the Grey Cup Championship tonight at 6:30. The Canadian Football League on ESPN2. Radically Canadian.
College basketball's hottest teams try to put the freeze on each other. The Great Alaska Shootout. Semifinal action tips off Friday at 9:30 only on ESPN2.
Welcome back to round 1 of the World Supercross scene. We're in the first semifinal action right now with John Dowd out in front. John, really looking forward to his 2nd year on 125s in the United States action. Atsuda Takaturo, number 50, has moved into 2nd place after a pretty good showing in the opening round in heat qualifying. But look at the horrendous lead that John Dowd has.
Well, he was that far behind in the first lap, and he passed a whole clump of riders, and now he has a huge lead. So for him, this is good because now he can get out there and try to relax just a little bit more, get a little bit more time out on the racetrack. Because there's been a little break since the season, I think a lot of these guys are going to experience arm pump. Right there, have a little trouble in the whoop section towards the end.
Kenchi trying to make a move now for 2nd place in this semifinal round. But back to Dowd, you know, you mentioned about being comfortable. He really wants to take the nervousness out of his riding in the 125 this next year. He had the points lead with Pichon, you remember, in Supercross, David, and just kind of let it slip out of his grasp.
Well, he couldn't qualify for one of the rounds, just kind of a little bit of bad luck and a little bit of that sort of lackadaisical approach to the first few laps of the race, which these days have become the most important. I think he's learned his lesson, and he won't make that mistake again.
Boy, if he could bottle his starts here in Japan and take him back to the United States, because he needs better starts to be more competitive next year. He's got the speed, he's got the stamina. That's not been a problem with John Dowd.
Well, I think because he is so strong, he carries a lot of muscle, and that actually is a little bit heavier than most guys on 125, and might be a little tougher for him to get those kind of starts on the smaller bike.
White flag is out. John Dowd is just cruising here in the semifinal round. One more semifinal to go, and then a last chance qualifier before we get to the main event here in round 1 of the World Supercross Series. It's really a pleasure, David Bailey, bringing this series to the U.S. fans for the first time.
You know, it's kind of neat, really, to see how these races look overseas. I've always had to just try to describe it to my friends, but now you can see it, and I think a lot of the riders are more relaxed in this atmosphere because they don't have this points championship that's like the U.S. titles, and if they have a bad race, it's a little easier to shrug that off and just go back out and try to do better at the next round. So riders ride a little bit more relaxed, have a little bit more fun, and put on a show for the fans.
Might that be the reason that maybe a Larry Ward might show better on foreign soil than he does in U.S. Supercross scene?
That's a very good point, because I know there's a lot of riders, including myself. I've said that if he could ride that good, especially the success he's had in Paris, back to the United States, he'd be a millionaire.
John Dowd on his way to the main event here in Fukuoka with the semifinal win. That was after leading the qualifying heat and then going down. Kiyoshi, the only rider not making it to the main event there. Let's go to Hiro.
The latter part of this race, you were just doing very comfortably. But compared to the Heat 3, how you feel about this?
Well, I was a little tight.
Make this season, and I have a feeling he's stepping up to a new plateau, and he could be a real threat next year to Jeremy.
Oh, it's going to be an exciting season as we see Jeff Emig now on the final lap. At leisure, really. And the checkered flag is out. Off the peg move. Jeff Emig is $25,000 richer. And Jeremy Albrecht, his mechanic. Those two get along so well together. It's a good team. Second place goes to Larry Ward.
Pretty good performance for Larry Ward. He definitely had a shot at winning this thing. He's probably a little upset with himself for not being able to hang on to that lead, but he got beat by the best guy that was here, so can't feel too bad. He's still up there on the podium, and he's in a good position to win this series.
Emig, Ward, Huffman, Lusk, and Michael Craig are top 5. Interesting note as we take a look at the top 10, Mike Kudrowski in his first competition making it in there.
I think it's a great start for Kudrowski and a perfect place to debut his comeback in the offseason when it really doesn't matter and people kind of expect the inconsistencies, but he'll definitely be ready when the first Supercross of the season starts in the United States.
A pleasant moment for both Larry Ward and Jeff Emig, the top 2 riders. Damon Huffman in 3rd, taking a victory lap, and Atsuru Takataru, the top Japanese rider, in 13th place. As Emig's having fun with the fans out there now, David.
Another knack. That's 4. I think he could get used to that. $25,000 richer and the series lead. I'd be happy too.
Whoop, not quite the heel clicker. Take it easy now, Jeff. You got the whole rest of the series to go. He blows a kiss to the stands. There's Larry Ward showing us his new stash as he's already up on the victory podium. Let's go to Tavi Kaito.
What part of the race was the winning factor, do you think?
Just the beginning part, being real aggressive at the beginning and just not giving up. You know, there was a really great race for the lead, as all of the fans could see, and I tried my hardest to get out front, and when I got out front, I just kind of settled down and I relaxed on finishing the rest of the race and being the strongest guy here.
Well, the best way to lead off a series, and that's to win it for Jeff Emig, his first win on foreign soil. But now, round number 2, Paris, could be different.
That's going to be a lot different because these guys got to fly to Paris. I remember that flight. It seemed like it took forever. And you get to Paris and you don't have anywhere to ride. You kind of feel stale and you don't get a chance to get out there and get loose until you're actually in the race. And that's where he'll face Jeremy McGrath, who's fresh.
Round 2 from Paris will be bringing you on November 30th. That's a Saturday at 2 a.m. For those out on the West Coast, it'll be Friday night, 11 p.m. playback time. That should be interesting because Jeremy McGrath will make his first appearance on our series. Art Ekman for David Bailey saying thanks for joining us on this historic viewing of the World Supercross Series.